So yesterday, as you know, because you were there,
I was?
we had the luxury of and the honor of being invited to one of Lucid's new stores.
Yes.
How would you rate that overall experience?
Well, let us start off with a big disclaimer that this is not a blind experience. This is not going to be us telling about the buying experience since they knew we were coming. So do not look to this as I guess 100% unbiased look at how the Lucid staff will treat a customer.
Yeah, we were unable to test the sales staff, but it's probably something we should consider doing. We've tested Ford before.
Yeah.
We've tested a few automakers. We could look into that.
Once we leave their minds or maybe wear a disguise, we'll put them to the test. So,
Go in with a fake mustache.
yep, just two dudes with fake mustaches. Nothing weird there. So Lucid opened up their first Florida location, I believe, in downtown Miami, in the Brickell City Center, which is a high-end, upscale shopping plaza. They have a nice little corner first floor showroom, which is pretty visible, right below the Apple Store. So you just by default have a lot of foot traffic there. And they opened 2 days prior to when we came in. And we decided to stop by, and very friendly English chap named Guy, who has been with the company for I believe 5 years, gave us a tour of the car. It's our first time seeing the car in real life, and just the design studio in general. And I mean, overall impressions, we've obviously seen a lot of startups go for this style of showroom. This is by no means a traditional dealer experience. This is, taking the blueprints of Tesla's little showrooms and expanding them out, to make it more of a luxurious, not as high pressure experience. So the showroom was adequately spaced, but there was only one car there, and then another stripped down car, which was just the overall platform, which definitely helps with, I guess, explaining to customers of the inner workings of an EV and how it works and where the batteries are and where the motors are and stuff like that. So that's pretty neat, and definitely gets people in the door because you're walking by and you see just the platform of a car and you're like, oh, what's going on there? It was furnished nicely, wood accents, all that stuff. They have they had a they had a standalone dashboard and two seats with VR, which was kind of gimmicky, but it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. You put on the VR headset and you can configure the car's wheels and interior color and exterior color and see it in different virtual lights to get a better example of what the car would look like, because they only have one car there. It's not like they have an inventory of 30 different vehicles that you can see different color combinations on. So that's their little workaround for trying to have the customer have a better understanding of what their preferred color lineup would look like.
Pausing on this
Yeah.
pausing on this VR
Yeah.
subcategory for a minute. Would you say that it was a better experience than a standard online configurator?
Well, I don't want to say it with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty sure it was the same graphics they used in the online configurator, but just adapted to VR. So obviously you're moving around the head and you get, you look in the back and you can see the back seats and whatnot. Obviously nothing beats having the physical car, obviously. And they did have the actual leather interior swatches like we saw in real life, and the different color options also physically, in case you didn't want to step in VR, to at least give you some semblance of, what's the difference in colors. But I mean, it's it's like I said, it's not gonna beat seeing the real car. But it's definitely, a fun thing to do, and it's an experience that I think will help in word of mouth in terms of, marketing and advertising. Some dude will come in and see his configured car in VR, and he's going to tell his other friends, like, yo, they gave me, my car in VR. It was kind of cool. It was kind of neat. And then that person's going to be like, huh, I don't think I've ever stepped in a dealership where they configured the car into a VR, cockpit. So, it gives, I guess, a little bit of a better understanding, but it was a fun little excursion.
No, it's not a drivable VR system. It's just
Correct. It's not a driving simulator. Yeah.
You're still going to need to do a test drive, which they will offer there. They don't offer it yet.
They're targeting spring, which is when the cars will actually start being delivered. Right now, the production has started, I believe, in small quantities, but they're going through various validations and whatnot. And the car actually that was in the showroom was not a final production version.
No.
There was, it looked more or less production ready.
It was a drivable car.
Yeah, but some of the hinges weren't like production ready. Like, I think the only thing I can really remember is that the trunk doesn't open as far as it should. So very minor fit and finish types of things. But I got to sit in the car, and just a very, I liked Lucid from as soon as they unveiled it. So obviously I'm a little bit biased towards how I feel about the car, but sitting in it, it's very obviously comfortable. You would hope at that cost it would be a comfortable car. Very interesting interior because they have like 5 or 6 different materials in terms of suedes, leathers, plastics, and whatnot. It's very visually pleasing. The amount of screens also, very nice, very cool, and nice intuitive spots. The little the windshield going up all the way to the top of the roof is something from the Model X that I really enjoyed, and I wished more cars would have it. And it's found in the Lucid Air, so it's great for sunny drives and whatnot. So it's a very chill atmosphere, I'd say. It's kind of like a high-end coffee shop almost. There's various like they have their own shirts and like some coffee mug type tumblers things, a little section for that. They had nice little plush couches that you could sit on. So I think it's definitely better than any other traditional dealer route, and it's a window into what we can possibly expect from any other startups, mall showrooms and stuff like that.
We drove around all day that day in my Model S.
Mm-hmm.
How would you compare it to that? As someone who sat in both.
Well, like I'll say for the 50th time, and we'll continue to say until Tesla changes it. The Model S for me personally has gotten bland, and whilst it could still, I will now never call the Model S as an ugly vehicle by any stretch, but looking at the same patch of grass gets kind of boring after a while. So from a design standpoint, the Lucid's definitely more interesting. Not only because it's new, but like I said, the seats and the dashboard, there's like I said, like 5 different little shades, nice little pop of color, accented pieces there. There's one part's leather, another part's Alcantara. The screen configuration is very neat because the instrument cluster extends outwards to 2 subscreens on each side. Then there's the center. Then there's the screen in the center console that actually folds away, which I know, kind of geeky for me, but I think that's super cool. The windshield, definitely, I love. It's not found in the S, but it's found in the X. I love it. Lots of natural lighting is always good and highlights the colors of the interior and whatnot.
Would you say it was more of a luxury feel? Because Lucid is targeting the luxury class, which is something that Tesla's never really been able to.
I would say so. I feel like it's a very common criticism of Tesla's interiors that, while they're not, obviously they're better than like a Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, and base like Audi A4s, BMW 3 Series and stuff like that. It's still, you wouldn't really call a Model S interior like luxury. Like it's not like a Bentley, Rolls Royce or anything like that. It's above average and pretty good. But I feel like when most people, especially when the Model S cost like $90,000, $100,000, I think many people wanted something more from their interior. Not only from the materials standpoint, but Tesla went with this minimalistic style of interior, and for a lot of people, that's they really dig it. Just two screens and a steering wheel, and basically that's it, or a steering wheel and one big screen, and in the case of the 3 and the Y. But I feel like there was a decent amount of people that kind of wanted more. Like, for instance, my dad hates the interior of any of especially the 3, because it's just, like I said, it's just a steering wheel and a screen in the center. And it's not, unless you're really into that minimalistic style, it's not that interesting of an interior to look at. So this one was definitely just, it was comfy and it was interesting to look at.
It looks and feels like it's just so much more car for the money.
Mm-hmm.
Because this sits side by side with the Model S in terms of range, specs, and price.
Well, it's a little bit more expensive.
Well, starting price of 75, yeah, a little bit more. Well, they also get the tax incentive. Can't forget that.
Yeah, but the cheapest one won't be out for a year and a half, 2 years.
Correct.
But it's about the price of what the S was when it was new. So if you so it's in the same price bracket.
They took the extra step in regards to just about every aspect of this vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just shines a little bit more. How many materials are in this car?
Oh, man. I mean, yeah.
Uncountable. Uncountable.
And if it wasn't for, unfortunately, if it wasn't for, the world ending, we would have been able to touch the car more. But they took Corona kind of seriously there, so we weren't really able to touch upon a lot of the, fit and finish pieces and leathers and whatnot. So we didn't even get the full experience, but at least we did get this in the car. But I wasn't allowed to touch anything.
Now I did ask if the software was complete, and they were kind of unable to answer that question.
Yeah.
Do you think we weren't allowed to touch the car because the software wasn't complete?
It's a good
that played a part?
It's a good cover, if that is the case. I mean, it wasn't a display. If it wasn't 100% workable, it was functional in some cases because they opened the hood and the trunk with button presses on the touchscreen, so it wasn't like just for display purposes and whatnot.
Of course, yeah.
So
but was it production ready?
I mean, probably not. But given that they still have 6 months, I'm not gonna harp on it too much. If it's just, I mean, I don't know to what extent. We couldn't drive the car, so maybe the speed wasn't even displayed, but we wouldn't know. But I think if overall the software, in terms of like the amount of screens, where everything is placed, and if that's been finalized and everything else is just kind of like bug fixes and stuff like that, I think being 6 months away from 5-6 months away from production is enough time for them to hopefully iron it out.
They were also unable to answer whether or not the LiDAR system was ready for prime time.
Yeah.
They never explicitly said that the car will be released with autonomous features.
Well, not level 3 features.
Not level 3 features.
So basic, I think, like automated cruise control and stuff like that will be in it. I'm pretty sure. But
I'm doubtful we will be released with level 3.
Yeah.
Given that question was unable to be answered.
Right. So aside from the car, obviously we spent a lot of time talking to Guy about just the studio in general, and I mean he's been with the company, like he said, for 5 years, so he's witnessed a lot over the comeuppance of this company, and obviously given our streak of calling Ford dealerships to harass them about how well they know Mach-E, we felt we needed to ask Guy about the training process, because obviously If the salesman doesn't know anything about EVs, there's going to be basically no way that they're going to be able to rightfully sell anyone who's clueless about EVs. So, from what I can remember, guys said that there's a pretty extensive interview process, and then they and other managers get together to discuss any shortcomings they saw in the candidates. And then there's like a second stage where they get more interviews and they come back, and then once they are accepted, then there's like a 2-week crash course on Lucid as a whole, obviously, because you need to know what you're selling, and then knowing actual EV terminologies and stuff like that. And he made it a point to know, they make employees talk to, with Tesla associates and go into Tesla stores to see how they do it. It's good that Lucid doesn't believe themselves to be above, referring to Tesla and how they do things, because obviously they've set the benchmark. So they don't shy away from doing that. They make the employees understand how Tesla does it. And then going with their wanting to create a luxury experience, they also make the employees go to, just regular luxury stores like Burberry and Louis and Gucci and stuff like that to see what kind of customer experience they have, because they clearly want this to be a very enjoyable and luxurious process. And then they do their, standard like shadowing processes. So they, do pretend consultations on whatnot to hopefully make sure that anyone you talk to in a Lucid store will be more than knowledgeable enough to answer any question from both someone who's skeptical and someone who's enthusiastic about knowing an electric car. Once again,
they really do take it serious.
Yeah. Once again, like I said, we didn't put it to the test because they knew we were coming, but that is, we talked pretty extensively about how they plan to prepare their sales associates. So we hope that it does. They succeed in that. But yeah, how was your overall vibe? It was definitely more interesting than the Tesla store, I think, because once again, Tesla has at least in my opinion, Tesla has this very minimalistic style. And whilst this wasn't cluttered, I feel like there was a couple more things to kind of like peruse and look at.
It was nice. Lucid's definitely building a brand just as strong as they are an automaker.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's made clear. They have luxury merchandise and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
The car, of course, is luxurious, and the store, it fits. Yeah, Tesla stores are very modern,
mm-hmm.
minimalistic, like their cars.
Mm-hmm.
This just felt like it belonged in Brickell City Center.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely didn't look out of place, even though it's the only thing related to automobiles in that place, actually. It has its own little section in the directory for automotives.
They're definitely taking the training serious.
Mm-hmm.
At least from what from what we were told, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's much easier for a new automaker to do so.
Mm-hmm.
To train people from the ground up
mm-hmm.
into EVs versus converting sales staff and whatnot to start selling 5-10% of their sales as EVs.
Yeah,
there's not really incentive to learn there.
Mm-hmm. So now that we've gone through, Tesla stores and now the Lucid store, and we've starting to get a picture of what we can expect from these stores, I'm gonna ask a question I think I asked a couple weeks ago back when we were talking about dealerships as a whole, and I'm gonna ask: do you think that legacy automakers will possibly start to have some of these small, mall showrooms for their future electric cars, separate from everything else, while still maintaining dealer networks?
Well, from what we learned from Guy,
mm-hmm.
this isn't going to be the sole what do you want to call it, process in the Lucid buying process, the sole step in the buying process.
Right, they're gonna have delivery centers separate.
Yeah, they'll still have delivery centers separately. They can't store cars at this location.
Mm-mm.
So this is really just, hey, look at the car. Come in, look at the car, talk to our representatives.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about EVs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk pricing. Let's talk configuration.
Mm-hmm.
For a normal legacy automaker, I think it really only works if they're building a strong brand.
Like a sub brand.
If it's someone in the luxury class, like let's say Cadillac.
Mm-hmm.
If Ford did it, I don't know if people would care. I don't know if enough people would walk into that store.
It's a good point. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, it's kind of a luxurious feeling. So
Lucid's looking at this from a brand creation standpoint,
mm-hmm.
and they're not above, like you said, following suit with what Tesla's done.
Mm-hmm.
They're not above learning from other luxury companies.
Mm-hmm.
They've brought the right people on board, and they're expanding drastically. I actually think that the majority of people don't understand how big Lucid is, because you rarely hear about companies that aren't public nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But they're in production right now. About.
For validations and final shakedowns and whatnot. Yeah,
they're beginning deliveries within the first half of next year. This is one of 5 stores that are currently up.
Yeah,
but all 5 were up within the last 2 weeks.
2 months, maybe? With plans for many more.
Plans to go international.
Yeah.
Many more to come. This is their hiring process is rapidly growing.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on at this company.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of financial backing.
Mm-hmm.
This is not, another Nikola. This is a car that will be on the road in just the next few months. It's a car you will see on the road. It's a car you'll see in malls. It's a car you'll probably walk into the store and ask about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that people haven't realized yet. Just how big Lucid is, and how big of a brand it will be.
Yeah, but obviously, many people point to the fact that their car is, in the upper bracket of the price range, and the SUV is probably also going to be in the upper end of the price range. But Lucid has stated that, eventually they need to, go down in price in later models. So it's not going to be a strictly luxury brand. I mean, it probably will still feel luxurious, I imagine, but there will be cheaper cars in the future, and maybe even more ultra luxurious in the future, possibly. They're exploring as many different vehicle segments as they can think of.
We were told they were also exploring sourcing parts for other people, for other manufacturers.
I mean, yeah. It's
with the whole Apple car rumor up in the air. Some people are saying, "Hey, Apple could just buy Lucid."
I'm sure when they announced 500 plus miles of range, a lot of companies' ears perked up, and you can't really ignore technological feat like that. They probably got some calls from other prospective automakers, or I don't know, maybe other startups. So as far as what we see at this point, Lucid's doing basically everything right. The support is there, the promised specifications is there. The only thing left is to provide a product that actually fulfills on their promises, and if it does, they got a bright future, at least in my opinion.
You got anything else to add? We'll talk about how big the trunk is.
Bro, I wrote an article about how big the trunk is. I know how big the trunk. I know how big the frunk is too. You don't even know what to do with your frunk. Can you imagine if you owned the Lucid Air? Then you'd be really mad at yourself because you got so much space in the frunk and you still don't know what to do with all that space.